Hi, everyone. How are you? I hope that you're all doing well, kind of recovering from the holiday, and all of that, all the cooking and all that good stuff. It's neat the way that the holidays fell this year, where they fall on the weekend, so New Year's will be on a weekend too. So then you get the Monday off. It just works nice. I mean, when it falls on a Friday, it's kind of tough, but this year it's working out good, right? So that's awesome. Um, could you guys believe all of the bombshells? The bombshell tonight. If Nancy Grace was reading that, she would have probably flashed the salami nipple about this. There were so many bombshells in that. Did you guys see that when she was on Dancing with the Stars? She was on Dancing with the Stars, and she had a wardrobe malfunction. And it was not too long after she had stopped breastfeeding the twins. She'd been breastfeeding the twins, and she had the wardrobe malfunction, right? And it was just right there. They were questioning her and everything, and it was a nip slip, but her nipple looked like an old chewed up piece of red salami. It was bad, 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 bad. And so she was on another show or something. I can't remember which one. And they questioned her about it. And she sat there, with a little smirk on her face. She was like, I'm not sure what you are referring to, because that did not happen. And she handled it so good. Kudos to her. I mean, like I say, she is my spirit animal. And so, I'm telling you, episode 16 is where it's at. There are so many things in there that just are absolute bewildering on why would NA refuse to come back in and ask if she's going to be arrested if she comes in? Why would she think that? I know that's been talked about, but to actually see it in writing and know that that wasn't some rumor, or anything out of hearsay, to see that in a document, it was something else. And I'm still really, really upset about the way that SW was. I mean, obviously, I'm upset that she was unalived, but the way that the position she was in does not suggest anything similar to the forced confession. Um, to me, it indicates she was hogtied, and I am really, really disturbed about that. Um, Obviously, whoever touched Bella and Cece and did this, it's unfathomable that it ever even happened. And I think that sometimes I go into denial about it because it's too horrible to think that those girls had such a terrible fate. I mean, they were at daycare during the week. They were at the grandparents' the week before. If someone had beef with Shanann and something went wrong, whatever, I should have confronted Shanann when the girls were not there. And then if something went too far, dealing with one and not three, and then the baby she was carrying as well. It doesn't fit that she was laying there sleeping and just let it happen in the argument and didn't fight back, just laying there and being strangled. Doesn't, Her arms were outstretched, her head in a westerly way. She was buried face down, ass up, knees bent, feet further back and bent. That's like she was grabbing a pole. Or, I don't know, because like I said, rigor sets in and then rigor mortis. So whatever position you're in, then relaxes so your body's flat. And like I say, I am getting more and more bewildered, and that was like in episode 15. So episode 15 and 16 are just stuck in my mind. I mean, like, I can't get this out of my mind. I thank all of you who are going on this journey of finding the truth with me. Um, it's just the circular reasoning that some channels do, where they know that they don't have the research, the creativity, or the natural intelligence to keep an audience, they make up things. And that's doing nothing. And they really do defame, insult, and know the word. I mean, when the constant things are about her looks and her eyebrows and her face and that she looked older and everything, it's like, what is that doing? What does that say about you as a woman when you continue to do that? I mean, that's how some creators are maintaining their audience. Yes, I have a much smaller audience, but you know what? I have an audience of people who care about the truth. They care about the maintenance and maintaining of the truth because they care about the truth and the integrity, and they care about what happened here to those little girls, and they care about a world that makes people more aware of all types of abuse and how that abuse can be identified and mitigated before another tragedy happens, like what happened to Bella and Cece. So, those creators out there who have 50,000, a million, whatever, 10,000, and they're just sitting there making up things. I don't want those fans. I don't want those subs. I don't want that. I want what I have. I want what I have when people listen and know that this is, yeah, I kid around a lot. Okay? I joke about things that maybe others wouldn't. But you know what? That's how you get people to pay attention. If I were to sit here and monotone this discovery out, like others have done, it's not heard. I am not the first, and I won't be the last to read this discovery. But by the fact that I was a public speaker by trade before I became ill, I make about $2,000 an honorarium to speak to live audiences of thousands and museums. I was on task forces for the government. Was appointed to political offices. I've done some work, and so when I take all of those skills right now, and I'm not making a cent, but I can take those skills and help this information be a little bit easier to hear and palate so that you understand the story behind it so it makes sense. And as we trim all this fat off, we get to that lean meat in this pile of pig shit, we're going to make a difference. And I've got big eyes on me because of it. I started that Instagram where I asked you guys to show your Christmas trees to me. And, talked about how I'm marking down the pages that have really significant information. I'm going to put all of those pages, screenshot them, and put them on the Instagram page I said, right? And so many of you found the Instagram page. And sadly, whoever's trying to find out who I am so diligently found that account, and they've systematically got in, and they signed up for a couple of dating services because I guess there's some kind of desperate fucking incel, but who knows? It said that the person who hacked it, their username was like Clipbang or Clip something, so it's obviously a clip channel, and I had a credit card saved, obviously from something I bought in there or whatever. So they used that. So my bank shut down the charges just as it was just to a couple of subscriptions. And it's funny because the bank shut it down. I called up because I was trying to buy something. I'm like, well, what in the Sam Hill? It's Christmas Eve. I got to buy myself some things. I need to buy myself some presents. I don't know that Santa's going to come here. I'm a very bad girl. And they were like, okay, well, we shut this down because these are suspicious charges. Do you recognize this charge? And they're like, BBW, blah, 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 blah. And BBW, and I'm like, Oh, yeah. Right? I was like, sure, I probably made those charges. And I was like, wait a minute, no, because I went into Bath and Body Works. I didn't put it in an online order, and I didn't do like ship to store. I was like, can you tell me this one more time? I'm like, what does this say? Does Body Works? And he's like, ma'am, I don't want to repeat exactly what it says because um it's offensive to some people, but it does appear to be a dating service. So I'm on the phone. I look at my husband. Who's over in the kitchen. I'm like, did you want to lose that appendage? Did you do something here? And he's like, what? And I put on speaker and I'm like, sir, would you tell what this is? He's like, oh, because he knows that I'm about ready to commit a Lorena Bobbitt. And he's like, it's under your name. And I'm like, he's like, so did you do it? It came from your phone. I'm like, no. My husband's like, I wouldn't, because I have made it damn clear that Lorena Bobbitt made a silly mistake. She did it straight on, so it was able to be reattached. I would go straight up and sideways, so it couldn't be reattached, okay? So anyway, that's what you have to do to your man. You have to wait and be eating a bowl of popcorn really slow and just say something that while you maintain eye contact. Do it early in the relationship so they know never to pull this crap, right? So whatever this, try to do, try to get, some fun. So they usually will do that and they'll try and push it through. And I don't know what kind of date service they wanted, whatever. But, it was BBW. So what's the other thing other than Bath and Body Works? Okay. Big boned woman. That's what it is. It's a big boned woman. That's what they're looking for. Big boned woman. So anyway, if you did sign up or go to my Instagram, you'll see that it's not there, and that was not my choice. It was sadly, hooked to my regular Instagram and other things too that I've had for, since Instagram started. So I can't even get in because I don't have the original email anymore or phone number it was connected to or anything. So I got to figure out how to try and get my others. But if it's lost, it's lost. It is what it is. It's still worth it to me to try to continue to find the truth. And I'm sure they're trying to get my channel shut down. I'm sure they're trying to do everything. But I'm backing everything up on Patreon. And if these pussies want to push me off of this, this platform and make it so that sadly people have to pay to listen to me, I don't want that. I really don't want that. But they're the ones who are pushing it. So if you do subscribe to the kind of people who do that, and they're pretty obvious who they are, that are my competition, and the kind of people who are in YouTube straight up for the money, that they're doing everything they can, making all this money in Cash Apps and everything. And I put my Cash App up there because a couple of people have asked if they could pay for my coffee. I made a Cash App thing. I put it up there. It's there. The thing is that these other people, they have been, anytime there's a new story, they go out there and they ask for the money to have their subscribers buy the plane tickets, pay for gas for a rental car, pay for food while they're there, food, lodging, and anything else they should want while they're there. Hotel. Those people are the ones ruining YouTube right now. And the ones who are just sitting there scamming and saying that, they need the money so they can buy their medicine. And their medicine happens to be something that isn't legal. The ones who ask for that and say that, watch for the timing in which they do it, because you can tell they're on SSI, and their SSI runs out for them about 7 to 10 days after they get it. So if you start watching for people who are really begging for medicine and blah, 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 that they can't get from their doctor around the 15th to the end of the month, don't do it. And then you're like, but I bought him a gift card. Yeah, there are people now who give you cash for gift cards. Just stop. The government has programs to help people who honestly do not have anything, and that can be traced. The government has programs for people who have money, and, they're going to get caught ultimately. But please be mindful of who you support and who you're following, and just make a mindful choice um, of who you're subscribing to. Because if they're a person who lies, why would you want them in your, why would you? I don't have enough time in a day to listen to people who aren't worth my time. And that's where, I'm still very, very humbled and grateful that you guys do listen to me. And I hope to always be worth your time. And with that, I will step off my soapbox for y'all. And we will be beginning on, so this is part 17 in the Watts Discovery series with TJ commentary, whether you like it or not. We're starting on page 491 out of 1960. And it is Discovery page 556. And we're recording here on December 26th. It'll probably come up on. I might record later on too. I might do it in 18 tonight too. We'll see. 491. We've touched on, so that's where we left off. So let's see here. Okay, so now we're going to go here, and we're starting with the investigative supplement. On the phone interview with Luke. Bad-handed it. Get back here. Get back here. Luke Epple. So let's see here. Oh, we got the Tam Burglar still. Well, the Tam Burglar's won like 2 points for me so far. So, on a scale of 1 to 1,000, she's got 2 points. Okay? Maybe I'll give her 1 for the outfit that Dave put on her, that 1920s style bathing suit. That was hilarious. He put her head on that body. Maybe so she's got 3 points. All right. I'm not totally mean. Okay, so the occurrence was from 8:14 at 1915, 17:15 to all of us civilians. And it was a 15-minute duration of a call. So it ended at 19:30, which is 7:30 to us civilians. And this was the day after we were reported missing. So this is taking place on Tuesday evening. And it is, of course, by Agent Tammy Lee out of the Denver CBI. And like I say, wasn't it wonderful that all the alphabet soup of LEOs was there before Ms. Honorati could order them there? Even though she couldn't work it in her schedule to get out here. So anyway, we know who she had her money on, literally. So, of course, this was approved on 8/24/2018 as it came across the desk of none other than agent in charge from the CBI Denver, Kirby Quinn Lewis. And the synopsis is, on Tuesday, August 14th, 2018, Colorado Bureau of Investigation, CBI agent Tammy Lee, was asked to respond to the Frederick Police Department, which was located at 333 5th Street in Frederick, Colorado, to assist with a missing person investigation. Upon arrival, agents with CBI and FBI were briefed. See, like I say, FBI was involved, barely 24 hours after this was reported. And they didn't need Master of Puppets to do it. So, they were briefed regarding a missing person investigation involving Shanann, age 34, 1/10/84, Bella, age 4, 12/17, 2013, and Celeste, age 3, 7/17, 2015. So, right now, looks like Shanann is going to be a 39-year-old angel. Bella just had a birthday. And that makes her 9. She's a 9-year-old little angel. And Celeste is 8 years old. This report documents my phone interview conducted with Christopher Watts' supervisor, Luke Epple, on Tuesday, August 14th of 2018. Subject number 1, witness number 1, Luke Epple. Guess what? He's a person. He's 35. He's a white male, not a juvenile. Narrative begins on the following page. Page 104, and we're going into Discovery page 558. We're on page 492 of 1960 for those of you holding on, following along. I want this thing out. I wish I could afford to to print this bitch out because I love to mark up my things, my black Sharpie and my highlighters and circle things and touch them. But what I'm going to do is on the pages we're writing down, I'm going to take those pages and get those pages printed out. So then I'll have that because honestly, like I'm telling you, this 1960 page thing, probably 10 pages are relevant. Maybe 20. 30 on a good day. So I have more something to doodle on. So anyway. Want to be tucked in? Alright guys, I gotta tuck Blue in. Where'd that go? Where'd that go? That went. Okay. Do you want your blankie? Blankie around you? Go. Your turn out. And then you can watch TV with Mom and Dad, okay? Go, honey. Boo wanted to keep putting his butt on the laptop, so it took me 30 minutes to actually be able to start recording. I had to run him with the tape measure, his favorite toy, and give him treats. And then we're fighting about the door because I want the door most way shut. He wants it open. He'll go in, he'll slam the doors all the way open in the night. You know, you think it's a boogeyman because he just comes in and with his cat ass, he'll just like slam it all. He wants all doors all the way open so he can walk around and keep eyes on everybody at all times. He'll go to his cat post and sit up high and look at us all through the doors. I mean, he is a guard cat. Not even kidding. And then I like the light off. He likes it on, but he likes his butt all over the keyboard. He pushes all the buttons, so then I have to redo everything. Anyway. Shut up now. Okay. On Tuesday, August 14th, 2018, Colorado Bureau of Investigation CBI agent Tammy Lee was asked to respond to the Frederick Police Department, which was located at 333 5th Street, Colorado, to assist with the missing persons, blah, blah. Okay, there we go. Now it says this report documents my phone interview conducted with Chris Watts, supervisor Luke Eppel on Tuesday, August 14th. Sorry, I repeated that part. There we go. Action taken. On Tuesday, August 14th, at approximately 7:15 p.m., I called and spoke to Christopher Watts' supervisor, Luke Eppel. Eppel is currently a production foreman for Anadarko. Eppel explained Chris had worked for him since April of 2016. Eppel stated on Monday, August 13, 2018, Chris was working on an oil field out by Rogan, Colorado, which he described as being located approximately 30 miles east of Brighton. Eppel said Chris had 3 oil wells they needed to get up and running, and Chris was, in parentheses, headed straight out there. Parentheses ended, period. Eppel said he was not sure what time Chris arrived at the oil well site and would have to review his GPS records to know for sure. Eppel said he was not at the well site personally because the guys do their work and can just call if they have a problem. Eppel said it was his understanding that Chris was at the oil field referred to as, parentheses, Survey Ranch most of the entire day on Monday, August 13th of 2018. Eppel said he received a call from Chris on Monday, August 13th, 2018, stating he was leaving for Survey Ranch to go home because he couldn't get a hold of his wife, Shanann. Side note here, in Vegas, there was that, I think it's closed now because there was the big, there was the big scandal. And the guy's name was Binion. I don't know what his last name was because the casino was called Binion's. And the property owner for all this in Colorado was his name Binion Survey. I wonder if it's the same, because I mean, obviously, we're talking about people with a couple dollars to spare, if you will. Land, oil, a casino. I could see it being the same person. I'm going to have to look this up. Research Binion survey. I'm sure you guys already have. Somebody else knows, put it there. I'm getting ahead, guys. I'm actually reading most of my emails. I'm getting caught up, as some of you guys have seen that wrote me around Thanksgiving. I'm kind of getting close there, and the comment I'm still having a big problem with because I need to type with my right, and I can't get it, and I keep hitting the return, and it'll erase it, and blah 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 blah. So the comments are not being responded to. I love them. I see them. I will get to them all when I can. I did take the screen protector off of my phone. It was glass and it had like 3 cracks in it. So I think that the cracks were leaning on different buttons, which was making it worse for me when I was trying to type it with my left hand, which I gotta hand it to you left-handers. I don't know how you do anything. I can't, I don't know. It's beyond me. Even if you've done it for all your life, I'm telling you. And four out of 6 of my kids are left-handed. My husband's left-handed. And I'm so right-handed. So, I asked, okay. Next, I spoke to Apple about the GPS system in their work vehicles. Apple explained the GPS is activated as soon as someone starts the ignition in the work vehicles. Apple said the GPS also records any starts, stops, and the duration of any trip. I asked Apple to explain the conversation Chris had with him on August 7th, 2018. Apple said Chris told him he and his wife, Shanann, were having some issues that they were trying to work out. Apple said Chris did not tell him he and Shanann were separating, but warned Apple if he saw anything goofy on his Geotab GPS log, that it was possibly Chris due to Chris staying at a friend's house. In other words, porking NK. Apple said Chris did not tell him the names of the friends he may be staying with. Apple said he told Chris to send him a text if he was ever going to stay anywhere but his residence. Apple said he never received a text from Chris stating he was staying somewhere else. Apple said Chris had never mentioned any issues between he and his wife in the past. I asked Apple if he was close to Chris. Apple explained Chris was one of 13 men he had working for him, and Chris had worked for him for over 2 years. Apple said he did not associate with Chris outside of work hours. I asked Apple who Chris was closest to at work, and he indicated it would be, it says it would by Troy McCoy. I'm assuming it would be B. They just didn't put in the right word. Troy McCoy. Apple said he did not know who Chris was close to outside of work. I think this is appropriate behavior. I don't like it when work supervisors try to be like, hey, like, add me on Facebook. Are you on Facebook? Yeah, add me, okay? Because then if you're falling sick someday and you're actually out, shopping, going and getting your hair did or something, they see it. It's just too weird. That's why they want it too. Don't think for a second. And then if you ever go and get interviewed and the HR girl is trying to buddy up to you and be like, oh my God, so yeah, close to each other. Yeah, add me on Facebook and Instagram. And yeah, I have this little sheet to fill out. Can you put this down here? It's just like so weird, We just like to know, where everybody is and be social and just make family. Bullshit. In today's world, anything that you say or do on any of your social media accounts or otherwise that can be seen by another individual is cause for termination. No questions asked. Absolute and total termination of your job. So, don't put anything that you wouldn't say to your HR troll on your social media anymore. You just can't. It's not freedom of speech. It's not. You want to be employed. It's not. That's a little bit of sage advice from Tabitha Jane here. All right. So, Agent Tammy Lee signs off. Well, no, she goes to the next page. She goes, I asked Epple if he was aware Chris had attended a Colorado Rockies game on Sunday, and he said no. Once again, no punctuation, run-on sentences. I asked Epple if he was aware Chris was having a girlfriend or Shanann having a boyfriend, and he said no. Epple said Chris never described the issues in his marriage, and he, Epple, didn't want to ask because it was not work-related. Right on, Epple. I'm liking this guy. He's getting more points than Tammy Lee. I asked Epple if Chris was allowed to drive his work vehicle when he was off, and he said no. Epple explained the truck is only for work. Epple said Chris would work some weekends on occasion, but it was rare. I asked Epple if the employees were allowed to run quick errands on their way home, such as picking up dinner. Epple said yes. Epple said as long as the employee wasn't driving 30 to 40 miles out of their way, it wasn't a problem. I asked Epple if employees were allowed to have their families ride in their vehicles. Epple said other Anadarko employees and contract employees were allowed to ride in their work vehicles, but they generally do not allow other civilians to ride in their vehicles. I asked Epple if Chris would have been able to pick up his children from school, and he said if he needed to, yes. Okay, that's where my mind was going yesterday, because I'm going, wait a second. He takes his work truck, drops the girls off to school, picks them back up. So, of course, a dog is going to alert, a bloodhound is going to alert to the scents of those girls in his truck, of course. This is where, Tammy Lee was going with it too, I guess. All right. She gets a half a point for me. Maybe like a half of a golden star. Not the 3 legs of the star, maybe just the 2 legs of the star. So, I asked Epple if he was aware of Shanann or Chris, his children, ever riding in the work vehicle, and he said, not to my knowledge. Well, they were. I asked Epple if he is aware of what Chris drives when Chris is not at work, and Epple said no. Okay, now I can hear you guys like out there in the audience saying, wait a minute, she was friends with what's-her-face because they were in line, getting the kids and stuff after work, after school and stuff. Yeah, so I get it. And at times, probably Shanann did take the girls. But he did it more often than her, it sounded like, in the end especially. And for the pickups especially. So if she'd take them, maybe he'd get them. But that doesn't explain how she was, meeting people. So could be back and forth. But I do believe that the girls traveled in the work truck because he was the main caregiver, the main hands-on caregiver, because she was so busy with, her MLM scam. And let's see. I asked Epple if he had any information regarding Chris's financial situation. He said no. I asked Epple if Chris had ever talked about his wife, and Epple said that he had a little bit. Epple said they mostly talked about their children because they both have daughters at home. Epple said he knew Chris's daughters had been very sick over the last couple of years. Oh, come on. And Chris talked about the stress it put on he and his wife. Okay, going off on a tangent here. The girls had nothing different than any child does growing up. A child is building their immune system from day one. When they are exposed to other illnesses and whatnot in the hospital, in their parents, and if they, come home and they have siblings that have been at school and they bring that home to the newborn and whatnot. And then when you do start them in daycare, you've got, people with multiple children. So then, this little one's in daycare and they've got, a brother or sister who is in, kindergarten and one in middle school, and then maybe they would have a high schooler, and then maybe mom or dad works in, a hospital setting or as a doctor, and the whole family is bringing home all of this microbiota every day. So kids, they're sick. That's just part of being a mother, being a family. Now, let's go in there and say that with the only difference is as that these girls had bona fide allergies. Okay, I do too. Some of my kids do too. Um, I've been through multiple series of allergy shots and breathing treatments as a child and everything, and multiple hospitalizations and whatnot. But it doesn't define me. It didn't bother my mother. She was still out doing stupid things all the time. Um, it wasn't the definition of who I was, my life, or anything else, as it isn't for others. You see other families, you see them in, grocery stores and whatnot, and you got the kid there, this barking cough and this snotty ass nose and everything. And before COVID, you'd see it a lot more. And now that you hear it, I don't know if you guys do it, but when I hear that barking cough now in public, I just like freeze and I start stopping breathing and I look around and I grab in my handbag for my mask and I just kind of, I look around and see, okay, where did that death rattle come from? But it used to be very much that, you just hear all the coughing and runny noses, sneezing. It's part of being a kid. It's part of socialization. It is what your body is meant to do. And it shows that there are studies that show that kids who grow up in a regular dirty home are much healthier than those in a home that's like a sterile environment. So the OCD stuff, where at the home she kept it so that they couldn't play with anything, they couldn't go outside and dig in the dirt and go to playthings and jump around and play regularly, that was making them more sick. So if they were out doing things and going places and playing in the dirt and all of that stuff, they would have been able to have developed their immune system a little better. And that was surprising to me, that a dirty home. But you know what? It makes sense, because you look at, people who are just filthy and they're just fine. They're healthy as a horse. But the things in soil, in the dirt, we used to play in the dirt, and have farms and work that dirt, and people who, didn't have shoes and, who worked in the fields, and when people, go out to the lake and they have no shoes on and they're running around and they're playing and stuff, certain minerals and vitamins get absorbed through our skin that way. That's really healthy. That helps the body build that immune system. So the fact that they weren't able to go out, get dirty, play in the mud, etc., was hurting them. The lack of food in the pantry, the lack of fresh vegetables to them was hurting them. The very, very prepared MLM stuff that she was giving them, which at the time were not geared toward children, was not good for them. I mean, when I went through a really bad phase with my Crohn's disease and I was in the hospital so much and I had home health care coming and stuff, I had this hippie woman, tell me a lot of this. And she was like, you know what? She's like, make a stew. Make yourself some stew, and you know what? Rinse those carrots and potatoes and celery only once. Don't scrub your vegetables and get everything on. Leave those peels on. Rinse them once, cut them up, and put them in that stew. And I started making more beef stew and with the vegetables and everything like she recommended. And lo and behold, my stomach started getting better because it was rebuilding all that had been taken away from all of the antibiotic usage that I needed from being septic. So, I was not born with all of this knowledge, but I found out more of these things as I grew up. And it frustrates me when people say that she didn't know these things because she was a young mother. And that's bullshit, because she had her first child when she was 30 years old. And her mother is supposed to be some wonderful cook and blah, 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 and wants to give people the gift of cooking and everything. And I haven't seen anything that she can cook that I don't know how to cook, and I'm a shitty cook. I can make a few things really good, and I'm Italian too. And so I have those, recipes that are handed down from my Sicilian grandmothers, and all of that, and the natural ability to spice my Italian dishes and my stew and my pot roast and everything. I had that intuition how to do that. That took me a while to get better at than what I was, because my own mother didn't cook. Um, and my stepdad was a crappy cook too. It was very special when we had tuna casserole. But like I say, these things, if her mom was this wonderful cook from, just doing everything by scratch and whatnot, SW would have learned that as she was living in the house. And I do believe that little video where she's stirring the spaghetti sauce, I think that was one of those commercials to make it look like SW could stir things that she made. And no, either that was a jar of Barilla steaks or spaghetti sauce she was poured in there, or her mom made it. And you know what, quite honestly, if you're cooking from scratch and you're doing everything, you will save money. You will not have as much time. That's the problem with our society, is that we don't have the time. So we go to the quick grabs, the manufactured things that don't have the nutrients and don't have all of that in it. And we don't have time to give the fresh vegetables and whatnot. But we're getting sick because of it. And people are going back to making their own gardens. And after World War II, people were incentivized to make victory gardens because that saved money. And I'm seeing people build more and more gardens in the last 2 years than I've ever seen. And it's because food is expensive. From what everything that SW would say, that, oh, she wants to be this and she wants to be this and she wants to be this, but it's because she wasn't any of those. And quite honestly, I don't see that her mother was either. So people out there who are moms and dads and are just doing the right thing every day, their kids are sick. It's normal. It's from daycare. It's from school. It's everything. And it doesn't mean that you define your life around it. SW was so burdened by having to do the basic maternal things. And as I did in my video about the Benadryl and the Tylenol she was giving them every single night without fail, no matter what, even when Bella was not supposed to be getting those medications. Number one, because it's not advised by the FDA under her age. But now that I've seen that she was actually prescribed Pepcid and Singulair, it's really questionable if the Benadryl and the Tylenol should have been given at all, because there are different receptors that are turned off when you take certain medication. And if I think I said Bella, I should have said Cece, because Cece was taking Pepcid and Singulair, and then her mom was giving her Benadryl every night and Tylenol every night. She wasn't telling the doctor she was giving her Benadryl and Tylenol. I can guarantee that. So, all of you who are out there who just, put one foot up in front of the other when you just got ready for work and you haven't had a wink of sleep because your kids are sick again, and you care for them and you do all the laundry from all them barfing and snotting all over everything, and then when you're so tired that you can't even move, you get sick again, and then you have to use the sick days for your sickness, and then they're all better, and you have to care for them even though you're sick. Hats off to you. God bless you. You're doing exactly what you're supposed to be in the way that our bodies are created. You're raising a family. It's hard. Nobody talks about how hard it is. But you're doing the right thing. You're not complaining about it. You're not being a martyr like these assholes were. So, sip my tea. Hold on. And that's my 2 cents worth. So there you go. Because there are actual people who have actually, literally, children who are so sick, and children who are dying, that have cancer, that are getting bone marrow transplants, that were born with a genetic disease that are terrible. And I see those people. And I see them not complaining. Not complaining in any way, shape, or form in the way that this one does. And in this here, it's interesting because Luke Epple says, Chris's supervisor, he says he knew Chris's daughters had been very sick over the last couple of years, and Chris talked about the stress it put on he and his wife. Now, that kind of BS that SW was doing because she was too lazy to actually do anything right as a mother, because it took away from her time and she needed her time, and we found that out in videos where she has spoken about. Please refer to Neek's Peaks videos should you have any questions about what I'm saying. Now, who has been unalive, or seriously ill, their incidence of divorce is astronomical because of the stress that it does put on the parents. Kids who are really sick, really sick, but they still don't act like this, and they don't put that kind of pressure on each other. They're dealing with actual things. So the fact that she was, making such a big deal out of it was putting more stress on the marriage than needed to, on top of the financial. In a third child, her being pregnant, her chances of being a victim of domestic violence with those factors would have been astronomical. The chances of them remaining married would be no. It is no surprise that they were having problems. The truth is, if she was more mature and she was doing what she was supposed to be doing as a self-stated stay-at-home mom, making the food, having the food there that she had the time to do, and food prep, and making food from scratch, like I say, it saves you money, but it is very time consuming, and you have to think about it. You have to think about, okay, I need to make this the night before, so then that's done. I need to put this in the oven first so that the oven doesn't, because that's my thing. When I make a pot roast, like I want to put in, a cake. I want to do a cake too, but then I don't want my cake to smell like garlic and taste like garlic. So I wanted a double oven house. Well, because I got a cookie cutter house, and they're like, yeah, you have the 2 ovens. That's what that is. No, that's a convection oven that doubles as a microwave, so that's a freaking microwave, you assholes. Anyway, it just takes time. But that's the way that moms used to do it, back on the farms and whatnot. The men would be out farming, and the mom would be, making the preparation for the bread. So the bread was done, and the stew was done, and the oats are cooked, and, the eggs are, harvested and stored. And you just think about how much pioneer women had to do. It's just crazy. That's why they're all dead by the age of 50. But God, the thinking that went into it is just so remarkable. Our grandparents were very, very strong people. We're wimps in the grand scheme of things. And some people are really, really wimpy. So she goes on to say, I asked Epple if Chris told him his wife was pregnant, and he said yes. Epple said Chris asked him to keep it secret because Chris hadn't even told his family. What? Hold on. You guys hear that? He told... Write this down. He had told Luke Epple to keep quiet about the pregnancy because he hadn't even told his family yet. Okay, Christopher Watts, you are not telling the truth. You wanted it kept quiet at work because your lover was there. You didn't want her to know. Your family knew. Your lover didn't. Mm-hmm. Silly, silly. So, said Chris seemed excited by the pregnancy. I asked Epple if he knew Chris's wife was on a trip, and he said yes. Chris told him Shanann was going out of state and had asked for some time off of work. I asked Epple if he ever saw Chris with both of his cell phones at work, and he said no. Epple said most of his employees do carry 2 cell phones with them at work, so they have their work cell and their personal cell. I asked Epple if he had any disciplinary issues with Chris in the past, and he said no. Epple described Chris as being very quiet and reserved and said that sometimes he has to pry a conversation out of Chris. Epple said Chris has been nothing but a good employee. Epple said he has never seen Chris lose his temper at work and has no concerns about Chris besides what he's going through with his wife and children missing. Epple said he has not seen or heard anything that would cause him concern over Chris. I asked Epple if he had spoken with Chris recently, and he said he spoke to Chris last night, Monday, August 13th of 2018, and this morning, Tuesday, August 14th, 2018. Epple said Chris is an introvert and doesn't like all the attention. Epple said Chris asked to come back to work, but the company said no because they work in an inherently dangerous business and they were concerned for everybody's safety with Chris's head not in the game. Epple said he tried to get Chris to come back to work tomorrow, Wednesday, August 15th, 2018, but their human resources department didn't agree with that decision. Huge there, because again, it is stated that Chris was going to work and acting like nothing was wrong, and it's not really that. It was an ongoing conversation, as it would be, because you're like, do you call in sick because your family's missing? And then how does that look? I mean, it was a conversation. It wasn't like he was trying and they sent. I mean, yeah, I guess that if you were trying to really dramatize this, then you could say that, yeah, Chris came in and they told him to go home. Yeah, you could say that, but it's more that, you know what, it was good communication being conducted by all that were concerned, and I think that is a normal reaction to that and response. And then she says, I asked Epple if Chris had any theories about what happened to his wife and children, and he said no. Epple said Chris told him the events of the disappearance were something out of a movie or television show. Epple said Chris told him all of his wife's belongings and daughter's belongings were left at the house, and it seemed like his wife just disappeared. Epple said Chris called him yesterday, Monday, August 13th, 2018, and said he couldn't get a hold of his wife, and his wife's friends also couldn't get a hold of her. Epple said Chris told him he needed to go home and find out what was going on. Epple said he told Chris it was fine if he needed the day off to just let him know. Epple said all of the guys who work for him know his, in parentheses, Epple's philosophy, that philosophy is that family always comes first. Let me see. Epple said he never heard from Chris Monday afternoon and texted him Monday evening around 9 o'clock p.m. Epple said Chris called him back immediately and said his wife and daughters were still gone, and the police searched his house and vehicles with a, in parentheses, warrant. See, look at that. They had a warrant to search and everything, Monday night and all that good stuff, all without SW's mother telling them what to do. Isn't that just fascinating? Epple said he talked to Chris today, Tuesday, August 14th, 2018, and Chris told him he was tired of people talking to the media. Epple said he was trying to come back to work to get a break from everything, but HR wouldn't approve him returning to work. Okay, that's where that came from. I thanked Epple for speaking with me. I asked Epple if I could call him back if I had additional questions, and he said yes. Unlike NA that says no. Investigation continues. And in bold, it says attachments, a phone interview with Luke Epple, 8/14/18. And discovery page 561. Now, the next page, 496, is just all these attachments that are in there in zip files. And then we go to discovery page 563, 496 of 1960. And we are back here with the first interview with Nicole Kessinger at Thornton PD on 8/16, again, 000, reporting LEO Agent Kevin Kobach and Agent Timothy Joseph Martinez from the Pueblo CBI Denver and from Gaming CBI Denver. And it's approved, and it was approved on September 4th, approved by Agent in Charge, Kirby Quinn Lewis. And it says, the synopsis is the first interview with Nicole Kessinger at Thornton PD. Victim number 1 is Bella Watts. Number 2, Celeste. States each are deceased. This is page 1 of 14. Discovery page 564, page 497 of 1960. And it says here that victim number 2's alias is Cece Watts. Then we have victim number 3 again, Shanann Watts, not a juvenile, 34 years old. And then we have Dwayne Kessinger. And he's the one that sounds like a real freaking dick. And name is spelled Dwayne, Dwayne, Kessinger. And that is 2 S's, an I, and G-E-R. And he was 59 at the time. So that old codger right now was what, 63, 64? Wonder if he's still being a dick. And then we got, Nicole Lee Kessinger. 30 at the time, would be 34 now. Occupation quality control. And then it says about the Charlotte Nelson again. And discovery page 565. Charlotte Nelson, unknown female. And then a handwritten card of evidence of the felony documents and a handwritten card in the evidence locker on September 4th, 2018. It's in the property and evidence area. It was collected on 8/21/2018 at 10:31 in the morning. And then there's more. It's the greeting cards that are there in the evidence locker. And then it says miscellaneous clothing of Chris Watts. So we have seen these papers before. I don't know why they are here again. And then it says it's the video interview with Nicole Kessinger on August 16th. And it has the CD and DVD disc. And it's the interview with Nicole Kessinger on August 16th. And it says the narrative begins on the following page. And here we are, folks. We hit 500. We're on page 500 of 1960. It's just like when you are in your car and your odometer hits a new set of miles. We've hit 500. That means that we're about 25% of the way. Well, maybe 23% of the way here. We're getting there. We're muddling through. Discovery page 567. Synopsis is August 16th interview with Nicole Kessinger at the Thornton Police Department. Action taken on August 16, 2018. Colorado Bureau of Investigation, CBI agent Kevin Kobach and CBI agent Timothy Martinez met with Nicole Kessinger at the Thornton Police Department to speak with Nicole regarding this case. Nicole had previously talked with agents from the Federal Bureau of Investigation. However, the interview was not video recorded. Nicole asked for a ride to the Thornton Police Department, and Agent Martinez and I picked her up near her home in North Glen, Colorado, and transported her to the Thornton Police Department for the interview. Nicole was present with her father, who drove himself to the Thornton Police Department, Dwayne Kessinger, and agreed to speak with us. The interview with Nicole was audio and video recorded. The audio is attached to this report. The recorded interview is too large of a file to attach to this report, therefore, it was booked into evidence under this supplemental. Prior to starting the interview with Nicole, we had discussed with Nicole about collecting her phone for a download. Nicole verbally consented to a download being done on her phone relating to messages and phone logs between her and Christopher Watts. I noted Nicole was very tired during the interview, and she reported she'd had very little sleep over the past few days. The following is a synopsis of the interview with Nicole. For a complete record of the interview, refer to the audio or video recording. Also, transcripts for this interview were requested and will be attached to the transcript on a separate supplemental report once it's been completed. Prior to the interview, Nicole provided me with items of clothing belonging to Christopher Watts that she no longer wanted to have in her home. Nicole also provided me with a handwritten card from Watts and birthday cards he had given her. Those items were booked into evidence at the CBI Lakewood office. Copies of the cards are attached to this report. During the interview, Nicole stated the following. She deleted all of Chris's information from her phone. Chris Watts' phone number is a 910 extension. She met him in early June or May. They met at work. He did not have a wedding ring on his finger. He never mentioned he was in a relationship and did not initially mention his children. Off to the side, TJ here. In an interview that is recorded with Cheryl and Cradle Watts, the one who wrote that crappy essay, some call a book, cited things that he said. And if you listen, Christopher said he first introduced NK to his wife on the 4th of July the year prior at a 4th of July fireworks celebration. So he said that. He had no reason to lie. He was telling Cheryl and Cradle Cap. Sherilyn was writing her own book, only cared about what she wanted to say, and only cared about how she saw everything. So she did not listen to those nuggets of valuable information that Christopher Watts was sharing to her. And it's bizarre. So we either have Christopher Watts telling another lie, or we have NK telling a lie here. You decide. One day, he told her he had 2 children. She thought it was cute that he had kids. Remember in the interview, she was like, "Oh, it's so cute." Like, are you are you saying that because you think it's weird? She's like, "No, it's cute." And it was like right by Father's Day, and I was like, "Oh my God, you're like a dad, and that's just so cute." Remember that? It was painful. Boo Boo's looking at me like I'm crazy. So anyway, one day he told her he had 2 children. She thought it was cute. He had 2 kids, right? He mentioned he did have a significant other. You want to know how this is spelled? Significat. So he has a significant other. We all know that should be significant other, but whoever they outsource to frickin' transcribe this, it's bizarre because, like, even if you were doing talk to text, they would not have made these grammatical errors. And like I say, there's like the weird like errors where the letters are stuck together and stuff, and that it's like who's ever transcribing this is like a Theodore Kaczynski type with a typewriter doing this. Well, maybe that's their thing. Maybe they make a living doing that. Maybe that's their shtick. That's their jive. They got an old typewriter. He mentioned he did have a significant other, and they were in the process of a separation. She did not know Shanann's name for a while. She thought he told her his children's names pretty early. Nicole is a contract employee at Anadarko Petroleum in Platteville, Colorado. She works in safety in the office. She also works at the same location, but mainly works at the oil wells in the fields. He does come into the office most mornings. Maybe after he takes a shit in the field, huh? Signed by Agent Kevin Kobach. And it says, Colorado Bureau of Investigation. They met at work. She manages the gas monitor sensors they have, and she had seen Chris before. He came in for sensors one day, and they started talking. They had a good conversation. One day he told her he had kids. He also said he had a wife, but they were getting separated. He told Nicole this before Father's Day in June. They had never been out on a date prior to this point and only talked at work. They started hanging out and met at a park near her house, East Lake number 3. They first met at the park in the end of June or beginning of July. This was their first meeting outside work. They had a lot of conversations, talking every day. He was never hostile when he talked of his wife and their separation. He was always kind. To this day, Nicole did not see any red lights with the way he spoke about his family. Chris is an introvert. He is reserved around other people. He enjoyed talking to her because she could get him out of his shell. That's what the kids are calling it now, huh? Getting him out of his shell. That means it's like a little snail. He comes out of his shell. He did not feel like he wanted to talk. With Nicole, he was a little more outgoing. He was very relaxed all the time. He never really got worked up. They never had any arguments. He never lost his temper, and she never saw him mad or upset. He was always very rational. He was very open with communication and open-minded about things. He was not closed off. He was kind. They had a lot in common. They were both into fitness and healthy eating. He likes cars and is a gearhead. She likes cars as well, so they talked about stuff like that. He was willing to learn new stuff. He was very interested in what she had to share with him. Oh, I bet he was. Like I say, she was a fast machine and she kept her motor clean, and he was about to go and give that motor a tune-up. Know what I mean? Exchange fluids, top it off with fluids, all that kind of stuff. You know. Let me see here what I was thinking. I had another idea here. It'll come to me. They got along very well, and Nicole never got an indication that he was having issues. They spent all of their dating time at her place, or they both went out. Nicole had been to Chris's house twice. Both times were very brief. She did not feel comfortable there, and that is someone else's life and existence, so she didn't want to be there. She respected that as their space. I mean, I think that's good, Okay. So, she went to the house very early in the relationship. It was right off the highway in Frederick, but she doesn't know the street name. It looked like others lived. It looked like others lived there. Oh, yeah. He told her he was living in the basement. They were separated and not divorced, but Chris and his wife were getting ready to sell the house. Nicole was under the impression they were taking their time selling their house. Okay. Now, this is no secret. And they say it looked like people were living down there. Well, yeah, they had the revolving door of people staying there for a long time. And then he stayed down there when they were in Colorado. So even when they were in Colorado and he could have been up in the comfy master bedroom, he stayed downstairs like the good dog that he is. I mean, he was like, no, I moved on. This is my little area. I pay for this whole big honking house, but I'll take this little area down here with the spiders and all that good stuff that come in a basement. Yeah, don't worry about me. I'll be down here, and if I get hungry, I'll just start snacking on this $25,000 worth of MLM stuff that I inherently bought, but I didn't know that I bought. Maybe I'll try on some LuLaRoe while I'm at it, because there's that crowd down there too. Oh, let's see here. Nicole was under the impression they were taking their time selling the house. The first time Nicole went to the house was on the 4th of July. Okay, this is interesting because, like I say, to Sherilyn Cradle, he said he had introduced her, to his kids and his wife before Nicole even had the contract. I think I put that in my videos as the strangest rumor at all or the most truthful rumor of all. Time Nicole went into the house on the 4th of July, and Nicole was helping Chris set up the fitness apps on his phone. He invited her to his house. He cooked lunch. They ate each other out, and she left. Okay, I didn't say that. It says they ate and she left. The weekend of July 14th or 15th, Nicole went to his house the second time. That time, she saw a picture of his wife and one of his kids. Nicole questioned why he would want to leave this. They talked about him working on his relationship with his wife. He said they tried working on their relationship and it was not working. Chris described his relationship with Shanann as a contractual agreement and not emotional. Nicole felt bad about him not wanting for him to be completely divorced. Okay. Nicole felt bad about not wanting for him to be completely divorced. Nicole felt bad about not wanting for him to be completely divorced. That doesn't make any sense. Oh well. He was reluctant to try to work on his relationship with Shanann. Nicole backed away a bit so he would try to fix his relationship with Shanann. Nicole thought he had a beautiful life going on and she wanted him to try and fix it. She always got the impression that he was a great dad to his kids. I think he was too. She never met his children and he never asked her to. They had barely been dating, so Nicole was not ready to meet his children. He was in a situation that he was not completely out of yet, and she was just coming into it, so she did not think it was appropriate to meet his children. I agree. He talked with her a couple of times via his work phone. Once they realized they were interested in one another, they stopped talking and texting on his work phone and moved the conversation to personal phones. He has 2 phones, one for work owned by Anadarko and one personal. Nicole had one for work and she does personal stuff. That's what it says. Her employer pays for her phone, but it is her phone. Chris went to North Carolina, and prior to going, he said he was going to talk to Shanann about trying to fix their relationship. He went to North Carolina in the last week of July. Cole found out Shanann was pregnant via the newspaper articles on Monday and Tuesday. She did not know this prior. Nicole thought if he could lie to her about this, what else could he lie about? This made her think about his wife being in danger. She deleted all the information on her phone, parentheses, call and text logs, that had anything to do with him. She was grossed out by him, so she deleted all of his stuff. It was the hurt that made her delete it, and it was the lie that made her come forward. Boom. Wow. That's very, very, I don't know how to describe it. It's, very definitive, very, very insightful. As I said, it was the hurt that made her delete it, and it was the lie that made her come forward. So, for those going forward that choose to date Miss NK, who rumors are that she has now changed her last name to Smith, which I find odd, less than truthful, wonder why. Maybe because there's 18 million Smiths. She would have to change the spelling of her first name to really gain some anonymity because of the unusual way that her name is spelled. Like Nicole Lee. Kind of like if you're going to have a baby boy, you'd name it Nico Lee. If you're going to date the former NK, the lady formerly known as NK, don't hurt her and don't lie to her. Because if you hurt her, she's going to cancel you from her life. You lie to her, she's going to go to the freaking PD, and she's going to bring her scary ass dad with her. And that's that. Okay? So, make a note of it. He told her he was in the midst of a divorce, and then she found out his wife was 15 weeks pregnant, and she was hurt. She said a few more things to him, and then she just cut him out of her life. Nicole met with her dad Wednesday, and they discussed getting this information to the police. She doesn't have social media accounts, so there's nothing else in her phone. There is nothing else in her phone that can help. Just texting and phone logs. Okay, this woman's wise. Almost like she's a freaking agent in Burn Notice, you know? She doesn't mess around with... I mean, and in 2018, social media apps weren't as popular. That's a given. But for a single lady, you'd think that she would have had more doing. But, you know, maybe she's an outdoor kind of girl. Kind of a tomboy, kind of, it seems. Likes her plants. I wonder if she has a Venus flytrap. She doesn't have that social media accounts. There's nothing else on her phone. There's nothing else on her phone that can help. Just texting and phone logs. She sent all the pictures she sent to him via text message. We've seen those pictures. She gave him the benefit of the doubt the first day when someone does not come home. Mind, Nicole thought Shanann just left. Nicole gave it a day. The second day, Tuesday, August 14th of 2018, she was talking to him and he was a hot mess. That is when she cut him off. Chris went back to North Carolina to meet his family. Shanann was visiting her family with Bella and Celeste. They had been there 3 weeks prior to him going out to North Carolina. He went in the last week of July, maybe even the last day of July. Nicole thought she had him convinced to work on his relationship with Shanann, and she figured she was going to get out of this relationship with him. They talked on the phone all the time. Chris was in the basement when they talked. When she was at his house, she saw his workout equipment. That's how they spelled it. Workout equipment. So I'm going to say workout equipment and a bed in the basement. He said sometimes he'd sleep upstairs when Shanann was gone. Probably when legless lizards and spiders came in. Chris made frequent communication with Nicole while he was at North Carolina. He said he told Shanann he wanted to try to fix things. He said Shanann was not willing to try and wanted him to go. He told Nicole their relationship, Chris and Shanann's, was done. The next day, he said they are putting their house up for sale when they get back. Shanann was ready to go. That's consistent with the text messages that, I've revealed. Chris got back and they discussed him getting an apartment or a house. Chris said he liked Brighton and he wanted a 2-bedroom apartment, 1 bedroom for him and 1 for his girls. Nicole asked him about what custody of the children they would have. Chris said he and Shanann agreed to have 50-50 custody. Nicole told him he should take time to read articles about what separation does to children. He said the children will be fine. Chris is saying he is the person trying to save the marriage and Shanann does not want it. Chris came home in the first 2 weeks of August. They all came back together. Nicole found an apartment that was really nice for him. They had planned on looking at apartments the week of August 13th. The apartment was only for him and his family. Nicole has her own house. He had never asked her to move in with him. They never talked about marriage, meeting his kids, or cutting the mom out. It was never like that. They never had a conversation of not being able to do this with Shanann or the children around. Chris did tell her that he had a budget for his apartment of $1,100 to $1,400. She knew that they'd been in financial trouble. When she went to the house, everything in there was very nice. He has an expensive Lexus. She knew he does not make enough to pay for all that stuff. She considered Shanann a sales representative, but Nicole did not know how much Shanann made. Chris said she made close to the same amount of money as he did. Chris never discussed his bankruptcy with Nicole. He said Shanann spends most of the money. He was frustrated Shanann had bad spending habits. Nicole thought the Lexus was Shanann's. Nicole didn't think they owned any other cars. Chris had his Anadarko truck but could not drive it when not at work. He said Shanann wanted everyone to think they lived a certain way and they could not afford it. He was never mean or hostile when he mentioned it. He told Nicole that he and Shanann were housebroke all the time. Nicole asked if his lifestyle was sustainable and he said no. He never told Nicole where his kids went to school and he never discussed the cost of daycare. Chris said Shanann was bossy. Nicole thought he was saying his voice is not heard when he voices his opinion. He said Shanann never acknowledged him. He said he addressed it and it seemed like she's not interested anymore. He talked about the relationship lasting as long as it has because of the children. And Chris said he and Shanann have had communication issues for 6 years. Page 4. Now, I am going to stop here. I've got a couple of things that I need to tend to around the household. I'm going to do an 18. So we're going to say we got through pages 491 to 504. And Discovery, page 556 to 571. And I will begin back here on 505. Sorry to kind of cut it short here. Thank you for listening. I will resume on 18. I'm probably going to do 18 again in a couple hours. So that will be done. I'm just going to go ahead and stop this here. Thanks for listening, everybody. I appreciate it. We're going to keep plowing through.